Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Hope everybody's having a good day. So it's snowy here. We're supposed to get maybe a couple inches, but you know, enough to make the road slick. But otherwise it's okay. So got a couple of videos here. The first one I want to play for you is from iHip News, and they're talking about Trump's insane Gaza plan, and then we'll watch that, and then when we come back on the other side, we'll talk about that. So let's go to the video.
Into convicted felon Donald Trump's second term. He has already saying that he wants the United States to occupy Gaza. He doubled down in a Truth Social tweet this morning that he can't wait to develop it with all of these partners, these imaginary partners that he has. And you may remember the viral image of a senator doing a face palm when he heard this news. Senator Chris Coons is here. How are you?
Oh, I tell you, Angie, Jennifer, it's great to be on with you, but I've already had it in just 2 weeks. I can't believe how much craziness we've had to go through. And you're right. I had just walked off the floor of the Senate. I had been working with colleagues to say to them, you cannot allow this shutdown of all U.S. foreign aid. It's crazy. It's going to make Americans less safe. It's going to help the Chinese. It's going to hurt us globally. And I walk out and there's a group of 5 reporters and they say, what's your response to Donald Trump saying we're going to invade and occupy Gaza? And I went, this is insane. So it's every bit as crazy today as it was then. And he's kind of walking it back a little bit. But I got to tell you, my view of what this is it's a distraction. He's like, don't look here, don't look here, don't look here. He's got his Doge boy, Elon Musk, and his team burrowing into your personal data at the Treasury Department, going in and trying to take down agencies that protect our safety and promote our health and are critical to education and a whole lot of other things. And meanwhile, we're talking about his crazy plan to occupy Gaza, which I don't think is serious one bit. I don't think we could ever credibly pull off, and nobody thinks is a good idea. But he wants us talking about that, not about the ways that he and the guy he's nominated to run OMB are tearing apart our federal government and getting into your personal information.
Does this feel like a coup to you with the Elon Musk's actions? And then if this Project 2025 guy gets in, the dismantling of the federal government and placing in all of these Trump loyalists that have no interest in democracy whatsoever, the rapid rate that they're moving feels like what people that overthrow a government do. It feels like a coup.
Yes. And I'll tell you, as I campaigned across the country for Vice President Harris, I said over and over to groups of voters, they've got a plan. It's Project 2025, written largely by a guy named Russell Vogt. You've never heard of him, but he's with Heritage, and he's going to drive this plan for how to take over the federal government and shut down huge parts of it. That's what they're doing. What they also talked about on the campaign trail was that Elon Musk was going to run some organization. The scary thing and the striking thing about this is how few Republicans are speaking up and saying anything against it, as they are tearing down our role in Congress, as they are leveling things that Republicans have supported for years. Federal courts have blocked a few of the things that they are doing and trying to do. and federal courts, I hope and pray, will block some of the violations of privacy, some of the ways that they're trying to shut down grants that have already been given to everything from daycares to senior centers to feeding hungry kids around the world. But bluntly, they are moving fast, they are moving aggressively, and we need the engagement and voice effectively of folks who are as alarmed about this as I am. That's why Democrats held the floor all night last night, and we're holding the floor all day today, giving speeches and mobilizing people to be clear that this guy, Russell Vought, who's going to run the most important agency you've never heard of, OMB, is the center of them getting into and taking over key parts of the federal government, whether it's the Department of Education, the Veterans Administration, or the one I've been agitated about, USAID, that does foreign aid.
Angie?
So Russell Vought, we know he's a Christian nationalist. We know he authored Project 2025. In his capacity, if he were to be confirmed of the Office of Budget Management, how could he impact what he wants to do in Project 2025 in that role?
So OMB is the air traffic controller of the federal government. It's this central entity that takes in all the budget proposals from all the different federal agencies and then approves or disapproves disbursement or spending. It puts him right at the very center of what the federal government does operationally year in and year out. And before he's even confirmed as he's sort of the shadow director of OMB, he's been helping drive these shutdowns. What they're doing that is illegal and unconstitutional is not just shaping what we're going to approve for spending next year, but reaching back and shutting down funding that we'd already voted on, that the President Biden, had already signed off on. So it's in law, and it was on its way out to lots of different organizations. In the first week, Trump signed an executive order freezing all domestic grants. That's what I was talking about when I said from daycares to senior centers, from fire departments to elementary schools. A federal district court judge in Rhode Island, Judge McConnell, in an action brought by the Attorney General of Delaware and a dozen other states, blocked that, issued what's called an injunction. That has put on hold for now that domestic funding freeze. But they're grinding ahead. They're moving fast to shut down USAID, the foreign aid thing I've been talking about. Now they're coming after the Department of Education. They're coming after NOAA, the thing that does weather, that tells you whether or not there's a tornado coming your way in Oklahoma and when to get out of the way. There are lots of parts of the federal government that your average person doesn't know about, hasn't heard of, isn't sure exactly how it all works. And they're telling the right wing, and Fox is spinning it up and the Republicans are backing it, that, oh, no, they're just trimming the fat. They're just cutting some excess. They're just getting rid of the wokeism from foreign aid. Well, that's not what Project 2025 was about. When Elon Musk says he wants to cut $1 trillion or $2 trillion out of the federal government, and you look at Project 2025, they're talking about coming after Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, veterans programs, for them to have the money to give away in a huge tax cut to the richest Americans and most profitable companies. Let's be clear about what this whole effort is really about. It's not about cutting federal spending. It's about giving that away to the folks who supported Donald Trump's campaign. Elon Musk gave Donald Trump hundreds of millions of dollars to help catapult himself into an unelected position of immense power to benefit himself. This is a guy who does a huge amount of business in China. He's the richest man on earth, and he does not have your best interests at heart as he's trying to slash federal spending. He's going to redirect it to the rich guys who back Donald Trump.
Okay, let's lighten this up a little bit and do some light Marco Rubio bashing. Okay. I mean, this guy is such an abject disappointment. You worked with him for years. He knows better. He was a right winger, no question, a right winger, but believed in democracy, believed in democratic principles. And now he's tweeting, let's make Gaza beautiful again. And then he is talking about South Africa and being punitive to South Africa. And that's doing Elon Musk's bidding, because South Africa denied Starlink a contract. How disappointing on a personal level, somebody that you worked with for years, seeing them completely, their spine completely evaporate. How personally disappointing is that for you? And what do you think this is? Remember in the 80s when we grew up, it was like, this is your brain on drugs, any question? I think that this is what happens with MAGA. Like, once their brain gets on MAGA, you have somebody like Marco Rubio, who is just a complete coward. I mean, Donald Trump used to browbeat him, eviscerated him, and now he's just like his little lapdog. It's so pathetic. So let's just gossip about little Marco right now.
Let me tell you about someone I am proud of who I got to see this past week, and then that's the contrast. Jeff Flake. Senator Flake, who was a senator from Arizona, one of the most conservative adult humans I've ever met. I mean, this guy has a voting record that's way out there right wing. When Donald Trump first came to the Republican Senate caucus, he stood up and challenged him and said, wait a minute, the things you're talking about, the language you're using, the way you're going about, this is not conservatism. This is craziness. And Trump really took him on personally, went after him, attacked him, challenged him, tested him the exact same way he did with Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and a lot of other senators. And ultimately, Jeff Flake said, I'm out. I'm not going to suck up to this guy if that's what it takes for me to run and win re-election. And then he endorsed Joe Biden, which for a guy of his background and his political values, that cost him half his family. Never going to speak to him again. He's been our ambassador to Turkey for the last 4 years as a part of the Biden administration. And he just got back. And I had a chance to talk with him and his wife, Cheryl, this past week. I think he did the principled thing. When you've got someone like Ted Cruz, where Donald Trump in the course of the 2016 campaign attacks his wife and his mother viciously and publicly, his wife and his father. But, with Donald Trump, he's an equal opportunity insulter. To then sort of come crawling back and then get up on stage and say Donald Trump's a wonderful guy and I embrace him and he's the right vision. What you're describing is what I have seen far too many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle do, even though they privately know better and they recognize that Donald Trump is not a conservative and is abandoning some of the things they've been committed to for years. Liz Cheney, I think, is a hero because she took her political career and set it on fire in order to stand up to a guy destroying her party and its character. One of my favorite quotes is, Donald Trump will be gone, but your dishonor will live on. So as someone on the January 6th committee, as someone who stood up to her own caucus and her own party, Liz Cheney, who, look, we disagree a lot on policy issues, but she had the courage of her convictions. Secretary Rubio knows better. He knows that our foreign aid programs keep us safe, push back on China, help protect us overseas, and are not being treated appropriately. He knows they're being shut down. And it's disappointing to see him sort of piling on some of the wilder things that Donald Trump is asking him to sign up for. The United States is going to take back the Panama Canal. We're going to absorb Greenland. We're going to invade and occupy Gaza. To be on the Trump train means to sell a part of your soul. And that's a very challenging place to be.
Angie, last question.
The transparency issue, I have such a problem with the Elon Musk situation, going in, taking private data. Russell Vogt, transparency issues because Donald Trump lied about what he believed. I don't know anything about Project 2025. Is there anything the Senate can do? Who is that? How can we ensure transparency in these Doge committee when it's not even a real committee? Is there any way to get transparency in this time?
So I want to encourage folks to support and reach out to a group called Democracy Forward. States attorneys general like Kathy, who's the attorney general, Kathy Jennings, the attorney general of Delaware, a neighbor and a friend, have brought a whole series of lawsuits. But Democracy Forward is a nonprofit group that is also bringing lawsuits. A lawsuit based in the Privacy Act is the most likely successful path towards testing and blocking the unconstitutional actions of Doge to get into federal information systems and compromise the personally identifying data of millions and millions of Americans. If you're following what's happening at the CIA, at the FBI, at the Veterans Administration, they are compromising our safety, our national security, and your privacy. And federal litigation is the best way to get a restraining order or an injunction to stop this. Pulling these folks back out of these systems and restoring your privacy protections is going to be very hard work. And it's going to require us winning back a chamber of Congress to have some leverage in our system. The midterms are going to be critical. We need folks to show up. If you're watching this and you're outraged, if you're sick of this, if you've had enough, me too. But we need your voice and your engagement. Look, I understand, folks, after the loss of the 24 election, many of us were frustrated, disappointed, unsure exactly how to go forward. In Donald Trump, you have an almost comic book villain who is teaming up with Elon Musk to tear down things that have helped support our families, our communities, and our place in the world. And we need to link arms and work really hard to make sure that we get back what is ours, a republic, a place that is safe and decent, a place that is inclusive, and a place we're proud of. So let's do that together. And I really appreciate the chance to be on with you today and to connect with all the great folks who watch or listen to this podcast.
Senator Coons, thank you so much. And we just want to say, we want you to vote no to everything that MFR puts in front of you, every single bit of it, all of it. We want you guys to be like kryptonite and hold the line. And it's so important to all of us to know that you all are fighting. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Great to be on with you.
So, what do you think? Do you think this is a big distraction that Trump is doing here to, as the excuse has often been used already here in the last almost 3 weeks now? Do you suppose that's what this is? They're trying to lay cover here for Elon Musk while he's doing what he's doing. I mean, because look, it's not like nobody knows what Elon Musk is doing. It's already been reported. People have talked about it, maybe not to the degree that some of these other things that Trump's been trying to do, like the tariffs and now this Gaza thing. Certainly they're not talking about what Elon is doing to the degree that Trump's been talking about this stuff. But could it be that that's really what this is? That, you know, he's saying he wants to go through Gaza like a bulldozer, but he ain't going to do it in the end. You know, I don't know. I mean, if he is, Netanyahu sitting next to him while he was talking this stuff, I mean, does he got him full too? You know, it's like, look, if Trump is trying to grift us again on something, and he has Netanyahu next to him, who has himself, you know, vowed that he wanted to do the same thing, essentially, is to go in there and just wipe everybody out of Gaza. Okay, could it be that, you know, either Trump and him are working together to pull this grift, or he's fooled Netanyahu to think that he's going to do this, but has no intention to, or he really is going to do this stuff, you know? So you got three options here, A, B, or C. What do you think? I mean, in what I've said before about error on the side of caution, I think Trump's going to do it, okay? And I don't think it should fall on anybody to just sit on their laurels and assume that this is just another big, you know, pony show here, in which Trump will say, "Oh, well, okay, I'm not going to do it," or he's going to do something that's going to be not exactly what he's been bragging about what he wants to do, you know, some kind of deal. I don't know. But if he sends American troops in there or something like that, I don't think the public's really going to be for that, no matter if you're MAGA or not. Because I think, you know, hey, one of the things that MAGA bitched about was that, we got ourselves too many foreign problems, okay? You know, our military is all over the place, and we don't want that no more. Well, that's what they've been saying, okay, last year, you know, as a way to attack Biden on how, you know, he got us out of, well, not really just him, but it was like Trump and Biden's attempt to get us out of Afghanistan, which, you know, And so that kind of that became the birth of this MAGA bitch about we shouldn't be all around the world at our military. Okay, but the history of the Republican Party has always been about ground troops all the fucking time everywhere. Okay, but all of a sudden now they're anti-war. But here's the thing, you got Trump and Netanyahu together. I guess maybe in Trump's mind it makes it look more legit if he's got the guy next to him himself who also wanted to have this done, because I think Trump realizes that people are starting to not believe everything he says. So if he's got Netanyahu sitting right there next to him and he's talking about wiping out Palestinians in Gaza, then people say, oh, he must really mean it. That's why I'm saying it's fishy to know whether or not this is really going to happen or not, but it shouldn't give people a reason to assume that it's not going to, just because, Trump's lied to us so many fucking times before. Okay, it's like, Charlie Brown, Lucy's holding the football and I'm not going to take it away. I'm going to leave it right here. You can kick, and Charlie Brown falls for it every fucking time, right? He goes and he kicks it. She pulls the football away and he falls on his head. Okay. I mean, that's kind of what he's been doing here so far, is he's been scaring people, making them think he's going to do shit. And then when people start to get all up in the air, he's like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that, at the last minute. Of course, doing that also hurts and damages in itself, okay? You lose trust of people, especially the business market. I mean, when he's sitting here talking about tariffs, I mean, Christ, the Wall Street responded in kind by dropping like a stone, okay? You can't play, chicken when it comes to the economy, because investors get nervous really easy, okay? That's why insider trading goes on all the fucking time, even though they never enforce it, but they did with Martha Stewart that one time. But it seems to happen a lot, and it's because people don't trust the market. And when you got an asshole like Trump going out there and giving people cause not to trust it, hey, they're gonna run for cover. So that didn't work for him. But now he's talking about this and it's like, well, this is another project of his that he talked about that he was going to do something about. But he also said, if you vote for Kamala Harris, you'll have World War III. Well, Jesus, I mean, hey, don't you think that, going into Gaza like this, sparking, a genocide of these people, that there's not going to be a response from, Hamas or Iran, okay, who's backed by Russia? Do you think there's not going to be a response to that? Of course there will be. It may not come in the form of nukes, but you can see a rise in terrorist activities against the United States. Christ, you could end up with another 9/11, for Christ's sake. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, and that could happen. It takes years sometimes for a reprisal like that to happen. I mean, I can't remember how it went, but with Osama bin Laden, I mean, his anger towards the United States goes way back before 9/11, and it just built up to that point, where we had that attack. So even after Trump is gone, dead and buried, one day there still could be an attack on this country from people who are going through shit right now, okay, or something that Trump does now, but they won't retaliate for like another 10 years, okay? And people will be wondering, well, what the hell started that? And they'll all forget about, these Trump years and what, and him doing what he's doing now with buddying up with Netanyahu. That doesn't make America safe, okay? Especially since Netanyahu isn't really that popular in Israel with his own people. There's people over there that don't like this guy because he's done some dirty schemes over there, but buddying up with him makes America look bad. In the long run, it won't matter who the president is. Something will happen probably either overseas at an American embassy, or they might try and be brave and try come into the States itself and do an attack here. It's not impossible. These people have to be willing to die for the cause, and so if they don't care about living, what are you going to do, right? they can come in here in mass and stuff like that in different areas. You know, at least one of them will get through. You can't discount the tenacity, you know, of terrorists. You know, and so you know, it's just it's like everybody's just kind of writing this out. I think a lot of people are just simply in shock that Trump would even come out and say these things, because as angry as people were during the campaign about Kamala not saying much about Israel or the Palestinians, they're all too eager to lay all the blame about what Biden did or did not do on her, like she was the president. And it's like, folks, you can speculate about what you think Kamala would have done if she won the presidency, but you'll never know. You'll never really know. Oftentimes people will say what the public wants to hear just so they can get elected, and then they'll do completely 180 or something like that. I mean, Kamala might have done something like that, or she might have come at this at a different angle. She certainly wouldn't be buddying up with Netanyahu and talking about doing a goddamn ethnic cleansing in the Gaza Strip. I don't think she's that kind of person that would have agreed to that. All right, and for some people to think that, oh, you know, she would do something like that, well, you totally misunderstand her character. You know, you think that she was going to be that kind of person. She's not Donald Trump. All right, well, he's not a politician, okay, and she is. I mean, she's been in politics for a long time and got more experience about it. And the thing of it is I don't see Kamala as a person who had the character to want to think about, you know, let's team up with Netanyahu and cleanse the Gaza Strip. That ain't her. Okay, that's totally against, in my opinion, it's totally against, you know, the way she is as a person. Okay, I mean, you could ask yourself, I mean, would you stand for that? I mean, are you a kind of person who would agree to go and team up with Netanyahu and ethnically cleanse Gaza? Okay, I doubt Kamala would have ever said, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I don't think she'd ever fucking agree to that. That's just ridiculous. But you got people out there right now saying she would, that it would be worse. Well, how much worse can it get? I mean, if Trump does what he says he's going to do, that's pretty bad. That's like saying, well, I'm going to start World War III, and everybody's saying, well, Kamala would have done worse. You know, what's worse than World War III, for Christ's sake? No, she wouldn't have done that, okay? And I totally disagree with anybody who tries to use that fucking ridiculous argument, okay? Because, for one thing, she ain't president. She wasn't president before. She was only the vice president, okay, which meant she didn't have the executive power to do these things that people are lamenting about her that she could have done while she was vice president. No, she couldn't have done all these things you wanted her to do. She's only the vice president at the time, okay? Vice presidents are really only seen but not heard, okay? They're really not that involved, you know, behind the scenes. Okay, it's the president that shoulders a lot of the burden, okay? But for people to try and say, oh, it would have been worse if we'd have got her in there. You're just trying to justify the fact that you put a devil in the fucking White House. That's why you're saying that shit. You're all trying to shit all over her just to make Trump look better. It ain't gonna work. You can dump all the shit in the world on top of Kamala, but Trump is still gonna look worse. All right? I don't care what you guys can come up with for an argument. You're going to have to convince me better than that she would have done worse, okay? Which you can't, because, like I said, you're just speculating. You're just fucking speculating. You don't know. If you're saying these things, then you don't know her as well as you think you do, okay? So, this OMB organization here, Russell Vogue is running here over the government spending. You know, shutting down the funding for already approved spending things and stuff, you know, that's already been decided, okay? I mean, I don't see, that's not even legal. You can't shut that down. That's already approved. That money's already been spoken for. You can't just all of a sudden take it away, okay? And these domestic grants that are frozen. You know, I'm glad that they're challenging this in court, okay? Because this is really a violation here on so many levels here of law and the Constitution. Because look, you got so many people in this country that depend on these programs and stuff. And the idea that, hey, this is just the beginning, because the next step, we're going to try to cut $2 trillion out of the budget, and everything's on the table to be cut, except, of course, the military budget. Okay, nobody ever touches that. I mean, you could take at least $1 trillion out of that probably, and save a lot of money. But no, they ain't going to do that. So what's left on the table? Everybody else, essentially. Everybody else. You, me, your neighbors, okay? Even your bosses at the jobs you have. Everybody's on the fucking table here. And when you start cutting into people's livelihoods, I mean, that has in itself just as bad an effect on the market as, say, in deporting 20 million people out of this country because they look brown, okay? Same kind of effect that will happen that way. Because when you have nobody buying your shit, how can these corporations sustain themselves? Okay? Trump's already ruined our image around the world, so you can forget about other countries buying our stuff. They're not going to. Canada's already got a protest up there going on not to buy anything American. Okay? Everybody's boycotting anything American. So the same thing is happening in Mexico, just to get even with Trump. So when you start cutting into the people who live here in the country, and making it harder for them to buy just the basics like gas and food and stuff like that while the prices are going up, hey, it's a domino effect. Everything is connected. Okay, everything's fucking connected. It's like that old movie. Well, not old. From the 80s. Remember the Cold War movies you had, The Day After and Threads and all that? Well, I think of the movie Threads that was made in England. And the movie was kind of illustrating in a dramatic way how everything is connected in our society. And if you pull one element out of it, the whole system collapses. Okay? Well, you can say that about the economy. You got an economy that's set up like a big chain. And if you pull one link out of that chain, the whole chain collapses, okay? You can't affect one without affecting the other, and that affecting the other, and the other. It's a very, very sensitive system, okay? It can be affected by so many elements, okay? That's why when somebody says we're going to do an invasion, okay, for an example, we're going to go to Iraq, we're going to invade Iraq, then all of a sudden gas prices go through the fucking roof. You see what I'm talking about? Even though we haven't fired a shot yet, the market has already gotten scared and they're already, changing everything. That's how unstable it is. I mean, the stock market crash from way back when, before many of us were born, started over just nervousness, basically. People had to run on the market. It sparked, and it caused a depression. Okay? It's really not much different today. I mean, yeah, we got different rules and some things, but it's still very much the same. People, it's because it's all a gamble. Basically, it's all like a casino. I mean, it's up to you. You want to risk this or you're not. And I feel like we don't have the economic power to be able to play silly games like this with other countries, and to play games like this with the American people, because, hey, we're already struggling to survive, and all the money already sits at the very top of the income ladder in this country, okay? So if you're going to take more out of us, what more can we give than what we already got? Okay? It takes almost everything that we earn just to survive. Okay? So how can we pay the government or take more than, to have them take more away from us than that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, okay? At some point, you got to say enough is enough. Okay, you people are fat enough as it is. Okay, you want more wealth, go look at the other countries and buy up their fucking wealth. But leave us the hell alone. Okay, stay the hell out of our pockets. You know, you treat us like shit. You pay us peanuts. You don't want to give us any benefits. You hate the union, so you try to bust them up. Okay, you kick the legs out from under us in every opportunity so we can't get a foothold in our lives. And then you turn around and you say, well, now we want your fucking benefits too. We want your Social Security. We want this. We want that. Taking things from us that doesn't belong to anybody but the people they benefit. Okay? That's robbery. As far as I know, there's a law in this country against people stealing from each other. Apparently it doesn't apply to the wealthy, but hey, it's a law. I wish people would enforce it better. But yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. You know, that, you know, people are entertaining. I mean, of course, Republicans have always wanted to get into Social Security. That's an old thing that they've been hammering for decades. Okay, they were bitching about that even under Reagan. I'm sure they were bitching about that before. But when I bring up Reagan because that's basically when I became aware of politics. You know, around that time. So I remember a lot of the talk, a lot of the things that were said during that time about what Republicans were trying to do or wanted to do. And so it goes way back then. So, and you know, the counter argument to that is clearly obvious, is that, well, it's not the government's money, it's the people's money, because it's their own money sitting in a savings account, essentially, is what it is. And when people are done working and they're going to retire, they get that money back. Okay? They get it back. And if you leave it alone, it's going to work fine. But if you start taking out of it and you start wanting to siphon money out of it, well, that's not your money to play with. That's the people's money that they put in there. You're actually tampering with someone else's money. That's stealing. I mean, would you let your bank fuck around with your savings or your checking account, you know, saying, well, we're going to do this with your money and stuff like that without giving you any notice or even asking your permission? Of course not. But that's what these Republicans and MAGA want to do. They want to get into your fucking money. Your money. As small amount as it may seem, okay, it's still your money. And you're still supposed to get that back. It's not owed to you. It's not a handout. It's not asking the government. It's your fucking money. Okay? That started long ago when the elderly used to have to work till they dropped dead in the fields, okay? And they said, we can't do that anymore. That's ridiculous. That's inhumane. Okay? People can only work so much, and then we have to set up a retirement for them. And that's how Social Security got hatched. It's still the same principle today. It's still for the same reason. You want people back out there in their 80s and 90s plowing fields and doing, you know, until they drop dead. Is that a good look in America to you? You know, having to work till you die? Okay? Now, people just seem to lose their way with that. Anyway, let's go to a commercial break and we'll come back to see another video.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
We had a bit of a technique to go with this year. We were trying to put on 5 pairs at a time and get as many lined up on the legs to ease the pressure on the hips. Did we break the record? Needed 250 pairs to get the world record. This is what happened about 5 minutes ago. Take a look.
Thanks. Oh, where's the others? It's unreal.
That's it. Okay, let's record this. Let's record it. Are they recording?
Where's Sean?
Okay. Okay, guys, this has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but it looks like we've smashed the world record for the most underpants worn by one person. It stood at 249. We've officially made 266 pairs of underpants. I feel like I'm going to pass out. This is really sore. This is the last time I'm ever doing it. Okay, we've got the record. Let's get them off. This is...
He was the first president elected with the help of a hostile foreign power. That's not a hoax. It's the conclusion of the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee and every national security agency. And what did the Russians get helping elect Trump in 2016? Turns out they got a lot. For decades, the greatest adversary of the Soviet Union and Vladimir Putin's Russia was the Republican Party. Now the Republican Party is the heart of pro-Putin movement in American politics. That's why Donald Trump nominated Tulsi Gabbard, Moscow's sweetheart, for a critical national intelligence position. That's why he loves J.D. Vance's vicious attacks on Ukrainian freedom fighters. What happened to Republicans standing for freedom? Tens of thousands of Americans died fighting a European dictator. Now, an American president embraces a dictator at war with freedom. When Donald Trump was inaugurated, remember who else was celebrating? Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump together again.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back. So, this next video comes from Ben Masilas, and the topic is about the FBI launching a class action lawsuit against Donald Trump. And there's thousands of names here that are on this fucking lawsuit against him. And the reason that this happened, in case you don't know, is that Trump has got people out there finding anyone who investigated into the January 6th incident, any agent who was out there doing it, he wants to fire all of these people. Anyone that was remotely involved in the investigation, he wants to get rid of them, okay? Again, this goes back to his need to have people working for him that are loyal only to him, and not to the Constitution and not to the United States, but loyal to Trump. This is his way of trying to clean out the FBI. So that way, whenever he wants to try to do something more obnoxious and more hateful, everybody in the justice system will be on his side and there won't be any rebels, okay? Anyway, this video here will explain a lot of this, so let's go to it.
FBI agents have filed a massive class action lawsuit against the Department of Justice and the Trump administration for the Trump administration's attempted purge and ongoing purge of FBI agents. Specifically, in this class action lawsuit, they are requesting an injunction stopping the Department of Justice and, by virtue, the FBI from gaining access to lists and data about which FBI agents had involvement in January 6th related investigations. Now, you will recall that Donald Trump and his Department of Justice is conducting this purge of FBI agents who had anything at all to do with January 6th related investigation. So if you were investigating the Proud Boys, if you were investigating the Oath Keepers, if you were ordered to investigating, remember, FBI agents are assigned their cases. They don't get to pick which cases, but those who are protecting and preserving law and order are now getting fired without due process at all. And this class action is seeking to stop the procedures that are allowing this data to be obtained by the Trump administration. In this complaint, and has these harrowing words. Should this information fall into the wrong hands, the national security of the United States would be severely compromised. Now, these FBI agents are so worried about security, about their security and identities, they filed this lawsuit, this class action complaint, under pseudonyms. They're being identified as John Doe and Jane Does 1 through 9 and potentially others. They're not putting their names on it. Just think about that. FBI agents are so worried about their safety and what's happening to our national security that in their own class action, they're not putting their own names to the complaint. Let's bring in Harry Littman, former top federal prosecutor, former United States attorney from the Western District of Pennsylvania. Harry, break down this class action complaint. What's going on here? What's going to happen next?
Yeah, a lot is going on. And on the one hand, there's actually some concrete pushback, and it's going to involve the courts, right? And not just any courts. The district court for the District of Columbia, the very court that tried all of these January 6 offenders and called them out for who they were and told Trump not to pardon them, which he did anyway. Here's what's going on. The FBI has partially capitulated. So the henchmen, the new Trump enforcers at the DOJ, have given an order to the FBI, and the DOJ nominally supervises the FBI. Tell us, everyone who has worked on any January 6 case. And Ben, it's so much bigger than, even you pointed out, because remember, they had to go all over the country for years. They still haven't found everyone. Any witness interview, any search warrant, any arrest with a big arrest team, any kind of thing that touched on different districts, that we have over 5,000 names that the FBI, in fact, has turned over dutifully to the DOJ. They have them now, and the worry under there's going to be 2 complaints, but this first one, as you say, the class action John and Jane Does, they're saying there are violations of due process, et cetera, but they did a very, I think, wise thing. They included the Privacy Act, because they're saying if you give any of our information out, who we are, et cetera, that could expose us to danger as well as the national security. And the Privacy Act includes criminal penalties, misdemeanors for fines, and up to 12 years in jail for people who violate it knowingly. So they're coming to the department and saying, stop the music right here. You go forward and share these with anyone else, any Trump allies, et cetera. That's going to violate the Privacy Act and the Constitution, and they're looking for the court to say that. Now, this is not simply idle speculation. We know that some of these folks, including the interim U.S. attorney in D.C., who is a noted election denier, raised money for the January 6th offenders. He's trying to ask MAGA types, hey, tell me who are some of the FBI people who were involved here. And in general, you see what Trump is doing with Elon Musk, who is, seemingly running the government, having access to everything, shutting down agencies as he will. In other words, and that's part of the lawsuit, there's very concrete reason to say, do not in any way distribute this or do anything with it for now. Now, that's their first kind of stop the music move, this Constitution plus Privacy Act. Now, in addition, it appears as if the FBI Agents Association, a whole association of former agents, and others, individuals, will be getting into the act about the actual idea of the reprisals, as have certain people now with the Department of Justice. So we're having real pushback. We've seen pretty much Trump and Musk have their way over the landscape in the last few weeks. And the thing that is the best hope for pushback has been the federal courts, independent federal courts, to the extent they are uncompromised. And here is a highly public effort by very prominent lawyers to invoke just that. Come on, courts, get into the act. Tell the DOJ to stand down. They are violating the law, and enjoin what they're trying to do. So, it goes to the heart of it. But this whole operation, imagine, just as you say, I mean, not only did they follow their oaths, this crime we all saw take place in front of the country. It was a crime against the Constitution, as well as against individuals. It threatened the most important part of democracy, the peaceful transfer of power. And now they are converting it not only into a non-crime and calling the perpetrators patriots and great Americans, but they're literally looking to punish, as if they had committed treason, the FBI agents and law enforcement personnel who, yes, were ordered to. But even if they weren't, thank God that they did exactly what they did. Could you imagine what they must essentially be saying is, we should have seen this all transpire in front of our eyes, and the FBI and DOJ should have said, oh no, just a bunch of heroes assembling peacefully, and we don't care, and we'll give it a pass. There's such a kind of corrupt, rotten lie at the core of it. But now there is the most effective pushback, I think, and in the first instance, going to independent trial level federal courts and saying, enjoin their action. And this edition of the Privacy Act, which is putting them on notice, you let this stuff out, you play around with the MAGA crowd and Elon Musk, et cetera, you're violating the law and you're personally liable. That's a nice feature. This is all going to happen very fast, the motion for the TRO and the like.
Now, Harry, we saw another Privacy Act 1974 violation case brought by the SEIU, AFL-CIO, and another important union. They filed against the Department of Treasury for handing over to Elon Musk the personal data, social security numbers, medical files, you name it, anything where the government transacts, loans, what have you. The transaction payment system was allegedly turned over to Elon Musk as Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary's first act. The reason we even found out about this is because the acting leader, who was then fired or constructively discharged and put out of the Treasury Department, told the public what had went down. That individual resigned, was pretty much forced out, had no option. And that's how we found out about that data breach. But that affects all Americans. Now we're seeing the Privacy Act of 1974 being invoked by these FBI agents. And, you take a step back, you look at this from 30,000 feet up. This is extraordinary. FBI agents are bringing a class action. Could you imagine if the police department was bringing a class action, let's say against the mayor for violating the law? I mean, let's think about it. The FBI is suing the Trump administration for trying to kill them. getting their information out there to endanger the family themselves of our FBI agents who don't just handle January 6 cases. They deal with the trafficking cases, the drug cases. You know, MAGA Republicans want to talk about Canadian fentanyl, which is like literally zero. These FBI agents are the ones in the streets trying to get fentanyl off the street from the real sources and the real dealers in America of these synthetic drugs. These are the people stopping murderers, criminals, terrorists. And the Trump administration saying, nope, we're pro-terrorist now. We support the bad guys. Harry, let me give you the final word.
Yeah, look, it is breathtaking. And I just want to say again, at least the battle is joined, but it's a battle now. The current sitting special agent in charge in New York says, I'm with you and I'm going to fight. I mean, this is really going to be a test in some ways of whether Trump has succeeded in devaluing and fooling the American people into thinking that the FBI is a bunch of, hooded, jackbooted thugs and part of the deep state. But just another thing about Musk. It is mind-blowing that he's now got the keys to the kingdom. Among other things, he and what we're told, and Bessent has seen, I think it's been confirmed that he penetrated it along with his very helpful, huge band of helpers. Well, no, 6 23-year-olds or so who are just mucking around in every American's information. And this is a guy, I think Trump is maybe going to try to give him some sort of perch to make it seem quasi-legal. But I'll tell you this, if he's got huge conflicts with China, with Russia, our adversaries, if he's going to be a government employee in some way and completely, unelected, nobody bargained for this, I want to see that financial disclosure form that'll tell us about all the conflicts. But yeah, I mean, so it's really important that one organ of government, one of the checks and balances, the others having been for now neutralized by Donald Trump, is getting into the act. But it's really important that there's a public kind of brouhaha, and FBI agents, current, former, and, are really standing up. They are, by the way, infuriated and really terrified about what is happening to all their jobs. This is the thing they try to do again and again is terrorize some. And we're talking 5,000. There are 13,000 agents in the entire FBI. But then make everybody else nervous and afraid and, avoid their neighbors. It is so pernicious. And as you say, I guess I will end here, Ben, unbelievably short-sighted. There are crimes on the street that the FBI handle every day. It's the nation's probably premier federal law enforcement agency, and they are just being decapitated by what? A huge lie to try to make us all believe somehow that the January 6th attempted insurrection was the work of patriots and heroes. This, at the end of the day, is a huge cultural war that, that the patriots, I think, are going to win and have to win. Otherwise, Trump takes this complete false version and uses it to grab more and more and more power. We are really in the thick of it.
We've been telling people for years, take this seriously. Listen, when he's making musicals with the J6th Choir and replacing our national anthem with a song that he made and makes money off ostensibly with the most dangerous January 6ers, don't you think when he's in office, he's going to do some dangerously crazy stuff? And for all the people who just thought these were just wacky things, well, you're seeing him do it right now. And if there's one consistency in what he's doing, he's helping the bad guys and hurting the good guys, whether that's internationally hurting our friends and allies and propping up the dictators, whether it's domestically, picking on the most vulnerable, attacking law enforcement. Wake up. This is not a political issue of Democrats v. Republicans or independents. This should not be political. It just so happens Republicans have been captured by MAGA, and this is who they are. But this should just be common sense stuff. Well, Harry and I will keep talking about it every day. You got to subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel, the Talking Feds YouTube channel. He's got a Substack, the Talking Feds Substack, and he's got a podcast, the Talking Feds podcast. It's where I get all my legal news from. You should as well. Remember, Talking Feds, search it on all platforms. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you.
Pretty scary, though, to think that even these agents are afraid to have their real names put on the list, okay? And that the fact that some of these FBI agents who are pro-MAGA are out there knocking on people's doors, who, you know, some of the January 6 people, and asking them who came over here and talked to you, because that way they can get the names of the agents. That's pretty dirty. Okay, you got agents turning against agents here in the FBI. And I have to wonder, what are they getting out of it? Did Trump pay these people already? Okay, it can't be just, MAGA loyalty that's doing this. What did he promise these fucking agents to go out there and circumvent the law by getting information that they're not supposed to get, by the way, because it's all under the Privacy Act. Some of these agents are supposed to be undercover agents. And if you get their personal information and you make it public, you know, you outed these people. That breaks the law, you know. These agents are, they can't do their job anymore. And it's funny how this is the second time under another Republican administration where an FBI agent is being outed. Remember the other time? I can't remember her name, but they did a whole movie about her. And she got outed because, George Bush was out lying about why, about the idea that, Saddam had nukes and he didn't. Okay. And, she was investigating all that and came back and confirmed what the investigators in NATO had already known was true, okay? But they went after her and outed her because she was married to one of those people who was working for for NATO to go and check on Iraq every so often to make sure there weren't any nukes. And he was married to a woman who was an FBI agent. And then I can't remember the guy that basically outed her was some asshole from the Bush administration, and he went over there and basically, I want to know where she is and everything, and then they started going after her and tearing her life apart. But here again, same fucking thing. Only this time it isn't just one agent. It's going to be a whole bunch of agents. Okay? And they're going after, they're going to do a lawsuit against Trump, and he's tried to get rid of a lot of these people without due process, which is a violation of the law. And, because, the Privacy Act was violated, all that information that Musk has been gathering and stuff about these individuals, I mean, that can be shared with anyone. Do you think he cares about the Privacy Act or the law? Of course not. If he did, he wouldn't have done this thing in the way he had in the first place, okay? But he doesn't give these people a reason why you're being fired, but I think they know. I think they understand when they say what's the common denominator to all these people he's letting go. They all investigated the J6 rioters, right? So, I mean, it's pretty obvious, why this is happening. And, Trump himself has said he was going to go after everybody that tried to shit on him, So, it begins there, I guess, and it'll go on into other avenues that he sees fit to go after. But the thing of it is you can't do it the way he's doing it, okay? And you certainly can't go after these people for them doing their jobs. these people, they were asked to investigate because they were told to do it by their superiors. But you're going to go after the limbs and everything else about this? You know, I mean, I don't feel like there's that there could be any reason a court would even listen to a case like that, you know, or, well, not like so much in a case, but, you know, if these people came to the courts and they said, well, we're being let go because of that, I don't see how a court could justify siding with Trump on this, okay? Because every one of these people are going to say the same thing. It was part of my job. I was asked to investigate, and thus I did. What was I supposed to do? Just say no? Okay, then they would have had reason to fire me then, right? Because I wasn't doing my job. But they were, you know. I mean, it's like a guy in the military or something. He's asked to do something, okay, ordered to do something. Then they change leadership, and then that person gets fired because they followed an order, you know. Totally political. It's a political motive, and it's really not welcomed in the system of the FBI, because they try to do things and, you know, above board, and for years they've been, you know, allowed to do things, you know, pretty much that way, and have been respected in that regard. But I mean, sure, it's not a perfect agency, but they've had their moments here where they've done, you know, made mistakes. But the thing of it is this wasn't no fucking thing like a Ruby Ridge or anything like that. This was just people doing their job to investigate criminals who rioted against the Capitol. What did you expect them not to do? I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, if somebody was out, set fire to the White House, I mean, you expect people just to, you know, go out and get some marshmallows and roast them? Well, of course not. They're going to try to find out who started the fire, right? As you would expect anyone to do, the police even. Okay? Was it arson? Was it you know, they just was going through the motions. But what you got, and I can see now that there's people in the FBI who are as crazy about Donald Trump as, you know, anybody that you ever saw driving around with a pickup with flags with Trump's name on it, okay? There's people like that in the FBI, it seems. And so, hey, he's got to reach into that system. And so he's asking them, look, they're not going to let me get this information any other way, so you go out there and find out who these investigators were and bring me the names, okay? You know. And Elon Musk, Doge is not a government agency, people, okay? It was not authorized by the federal government, and why it exists, and no one said anything about it and tried to stop it, I don't know. It would be like hiring Walmart to do something for the federal government. Okay? Doge is not linked in any way. You won't find Doge anywhere connected in the list of government agencies that you would get out of a civics book or something like that. It's just not there. It's just a phantom organization that was created by Musk and Trump because they don't trust the government to do what they want it to do. So they get this group of people here to go in there and basically, you know, do Trump's bidding, threaten people, blackmail them, do whatever they have to do to get their way. Okay, totally. It's a total anti-American entity, okay? You could almost call it terrorist entity because they work outside the system, and they're accountable only to Trump. So that's very anti-American, you know. And the other, you know, not the FBI agents aren't the only people that they're rummaging through on their personal information. You know, as we all know, it's that Musk has given allowances to go through every American's private information because, hey, we want that information in case anyone's out there talking shit about us. Okay, so we can fuck with them or do something to them to upset their life. Again, that's, you know, fear-mongering to get the public to reel them in, okay? And here's the thing. That only works if you give them that power to be afraid of them, okay? If you allow them, if you go and hide in a corner and do what they tell you, well, you're giving them power over you, okay? You're giving them that power over you. But if you don't listen to them and you do what you want and you just fight all the time, hey, they can't control everybody, okay? There's not enough people or manpower on the planet here that's going to, shut everybody up. I don't care how many doges he makes or, comes up with or whatever. That's a full-time fucking job, and he ain't got the manpower to do it any more than he has the manpower to export 20 million immigrants, illegal or otherwise, out of this country. It's going to cost money, big money, okay? He could try and get that money by shutting down safety net programs like Social Security and all that, but, that's another hurdle that they're not going to have an easy time getting over in order to accomplish that. You see what I'm saying? So it's not going to be that easy for Trump, and we can't let it be easy. None of us can let that be easy. I don't care if you're a MAGA or you're a Democrat, okay, none of us can let that be easy because we cannot trust the person that's in the White House to just stop there and not go any further. We know he wants to go further. Everything about him is taking baby steps and then some big steps later, but that's what he does. He just keeps chipping away until he breaks through, okay? And what we have to do is we have to make sure that if he breaks through, he ain't getting exactly what he wants, okay? That's what you do with a guy like that. You don't give him what he wants. And and to go back with the previous segment, about this thing about Gaza and all that, I mean, he's good at doing that to us by, saying, oh, I'm going to do this, and then he doesn't do it, okay? Well, at the same time, we have to turn the tables on him in much the same way, okay? We don't want to give him what he wants either. He wants us to be fearful of him and cower to him, and all that. No. That brings us closer to losing what we have left for the United States if we even give 1 inch to that cocksucker. I mean, you just don't want to do something like that. He has to see that there is a resistance out there, and anything he does, even as president, is going to be met with resistance. And if we don't give him that message, he's going to feel emboldened to just keep pushing and pushing the envelope to see what he can get away with. He's gotten away with way too much already. I hope you guys realize that. He's gotten away with too much already. He's really set the bar so low now for president in this country that any president we get from now on, we're probably going to be presidents that have already got criminal records. Okay, and they'll always say, well, you can't judge me for that because, hey, you voted for Trump twice and look how much of a criminal. That's always going to be the argument now for every goddamn candidate that comes down the pike who has an arrest for this, a rape or something like that in their police history or something. Where's it going to stop? You see? I mean, it's very, very difficult to unring that bell once it's been rung, because from now on, any asshole out there that wants to be president now will have all the justification to run. Even somebody that just stepped out of prison. Okay? It won't matter, what they did wrong in their past. It won't matter if they raped a kid or they beat the shit out of their wife or you know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna matter. It just won't matter no more. Because we see that half the country don't even give a shit, about people that are criminals. Well, I'm not gonna say half. I'm sorry. I keep saying that. More like I'm going to give it like 25%, because half the country didn't vote, the other half did, and out of that half was like, half of that went to Kamala and the other half to Trump. Okay, so we're going to have maybe a third. We'll just say a third of the country feels like it's okay to elect your favorite convicted felon into the White House. Okay, so that we have to bear that in mind from this point on. For every elected official, whether it's the presidency or the Senate, the Congress, any of these people are going to say that same fucking excuse. Well, Donald Trump got in there. Okay. And so when people go to school and they learn about civics and it says, well, a person has to be this, and this, and this, and not this, and this, in order to be, president, senator, and Congress, some kid will stand up and say, well, what about Donald Trump? Okay? And how's the teacher going to respond to that? You see what I'm saying? How things, you know, that's going to be a taint on our whole fucking system from here on out. It's going to change the way we look at politicians, the way we choose them, because character doesn't mean anything anymore to people. But that's what we're going to have. And right now, Trump's trying to continue that fucking lie that January 6th was just a nice sunny day there with people that were friendly and all that, okay? And he's going to take that lie to his grave, you know? And what he's trying to do here with this, with the FBI and all that, is he's trying to whitewash, you know, so that way everybody that works with him will all say the same lie. That way it will just get sold into the public that, no, January 6th didn't happen. No, it was a nice day. Even though the video evidence is astounding. It was that same video evidence that got all these fucking assholes put in prison. Because they all recorded themselves doing it. You cannot deny camera evidence. I mean, Jesus, you watch these fucking TV shows where the body cams that the cops wear. And you got the people they're going after, and they're lying to the cop, even though you just saw them on their video, you know, doing exactly that. Okay, and so it's just ridiculous that people can just, you know, selectively erase or at least dub over what they saw. I can't imagine how people can do that, but they can, you know. And it's just, it's a very difficult period in American history to see this shit going on, because it's a circus like unbelievable, and like one you've never seen, you know. And I'm sure the rest of the world feels just as shocked, you know, and maybe grateful that it's not their country, but just shocked to see where we're heading as a country here, because I don't think anybody ever thought the United States would ever go like this, okay? I mean, I know I've told lots of people about how bad it was here, but that lived in like Canada or some other country, and it's like, oh yeah, but you guys bitch about everything. Well, maybe now they'll understand we had a reason to bitch, because hey, these things that we complained about were real. It wasn't that we were just spoiled brats bitching about not getting enough and all that. No. We saw the corruption bleeding into the system of our government, and we were getting upset about it. We saw the fucking pattern. But now the rest of the world, you can't expect them to follow American politics the way we do here, but it's just the idea that, you know, outside of the United States, America was looked as a beacon of hope for a lot of places. Now that beacon is gone, okay? Because there is no hope here as long as we keep doing what we're doing, okay? But some people in MAGA probably think that's a good thing, because, hey, then no less people will be coming over here. That just fits right into their isolationist attitude. But it's not the image we want to project. I certainly don't want to see that, you know, happen here, where we're looked at as a banana republic here or some fucking thing like that. I don't want that. And I don't want Americans being mistreated either. You know, there's people in this country that bust their fucking ass for what little they get, and they're not appreciated for it. So I feel like, no, this is ridiculous. These times are terrible. A lot of us will never forget these times. I don't care what age you are, but we're always going to look at this as the worst period in American history, because I don't know what's going to come after Trump is gone. I really don't know. But I know it's going to take miracles to improve what this fucking asshole's been doing here. And it's going to take a lot, you know. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. And subscribe, comment, share. Keep your ears open for any health-related issues. And treat each other fairly, and try to stick together as a community to help each other out. We'll need that. So take care, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.